Hello, hi, and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Sarah, and this is Wicked Reading. Today, we are going to talk about the books that I want to read in winter. Disclaimer, I am 100% a mood reader, so some of these will lean more in the hopeful category, but I am so excited. I feel really good about a lot of the books that I picked. I really think that I'm going to get to most, if not all, of these books. I picked out a lot of books that I'm super excited to get to. So let's talk about them. I have 15 books picked out. I definitely tried to pick mostly books that I think I will read and give myself room to allow my mood reading tendencies to take over and pick up a random one here and there. Specifically, my audiobooks tend to be very random because it just kind of depends on what becomes available to me through my Libby app. So there'll definitely be books other than this list being read by me / listened to by me. I definitely have a little bit more horror here, but I did pick out some fantasy as well. And they're pretty chunky fantasies. So we only have a few fantasy, mostly horror. I should also say really quick that I am not good at giving a synopsis of a book that I have not read yet. I tend to go into books relatively blind. I know generally what they're about. I kind of know the vibe of them and I kind of just go in with that. So this is also not the video for a good synopsis. If you're interested to eventually learn more about these books, please feel free to subscribe because these books will be read, so I will eventually talk about them either in vlogs or wrap-up videos. So that being said, I have 5 books that I picked out for my next themed reading vlog, so I'm not going to talk about them pretty much at all. I'm just going to show you guys what the books are because that'll be my next themed vlog where I will talk about them a lot more there and talk about my thoughts on them. Duh, that's how a reading vlog works. So before I forget, let me talk about the 2 that I don't have physically, and that is The Visitor by Sergio Gomez. I will be reading this via Kindle Unlimited, so if you're interested and you have that, it's available on there. Another book I will eventually have physically, I just don't have it yet, is Candy Cane Kills by Brian McCauley. I'm really excited to read this one. One, because of like the Christmas horror vibes. That's what the theme of the vlog is Christmas horror. But also because this is Brian McCauley's second book. I read his debut novel called Curse of the Reaper, and I absolutely loved that book. I read it, I think, in June, so it'll be in my June wrap-up. But I absolutely love that, and that was his debut novel, so I'm so excited to read this one. Then also for that vlog, I have Where the Dead Go to Die by Aaron Dries and Mark Allen Gunnels. Then I have Secret Santa by Andrew Schaefer. And finally, for that vlog, I will be reading Krampus by Bram, and I'm super excited to get into this one. I did recently read Slewfoot. That was in my previous witchy vlog. I'll put in the cards, link it down below. So these will be featured in my next reading vlog. Then I have a couple of creature features picked up. I will be reading The Shuddering by Anya Elborn. I'm really excited to get into this one. This sounds like just the perfect winter horror vibes. So in this, we are following a group of friends that are camping in Colorado when a huge blizzard hits, so they end up getting stuck, and there might be something in the forest. It says, now a weekend of family, friends, and fun has turned into a test of love and loyalty in the face of inhuman horrors. The only hope for those huddled inside is to fight tooth and nail, bullet and blade for their lives. Otherwise, they'll end up like the monster's other victims, bright pools of blood on glittering snow, screams lost in the vast mountains. This sounds fantastic. I'm so excited. I haven't read too many like monster creature feature-esque books, but this sounds like just perfect. I'm so excited to get into this. Since we are talking about Anya Elborn, I do also plan on reading Brother by her. I have that on my Kindle, so I will be reading that via Kindle Unlimited. All I know with this one is we follow a man who I think grew up in like the Appalachian Mountains, and his family just has a lot of dark secrets. And I think it's very much linked to him coming to terms with what happened to him, either as a kid, something like that. Very family horror guilt heavy, I think. We'll see. I'm gonna do a vlog of an author's taste test where I read Anya Alborn's work. I may or may not, I'm not officially putting it on my list, but I may or may not try to get to another book by her. She has quite a lot. I didn't realize how many books I knew of hers that I didn't realize were all of her works. So I might try to get another book in that vlog as well. I prefer to do like at least 3 books per vlog. So I'm not committing to any particular third book for that vlog, but I might try to get another one of her works in for that. Then I actually have another isolated winter camping type of vibe. I think it's a creature feature based on the cover, and that is Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell. I've heard very mixed things about this. I do know that we don't stay in an isolated cabin, and it has a lot more to do with I think kind of what follows this couple home, and either they're physically haunted by something, maybe just like mentally haunted by something. I'm not quite sure. I've heard mixed things, but it is like winter setting. At least I hope it is. I'm kind of just assuming that it is based on the cover. I would hope that the cover's not lying to me. It doesn't technically say like winter or snow at all in the back. So I do hope that it is like a winter one, but this was actually on my winter TBR last year, but we're gonna make it happen this time, I promise. I also plan to get to Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. This is another one I'm just like super drawn to, and I don't know too much about it. I think it's more of like a sad horror maybe. I think there's very much like either guilt or like grief. I think it's maybe grief. Maybe that's the word I'm thinking of. Let's see. It says, in this gripping horror-laced debut, so horror-laced, so not like super horror heavy. Good to know. A Cree woman's dreams lead her to a perilous journey that forces her to confront the toll of a legacy of violence on her family, her community, and the land they call home. So I think it might be a little bit grief horror, maybe more on the literary side. We'll see. I'm just really drawn to it. Yeah. So that's on the list. Then I have White Horse by Erica T. Worth. I received this in a Nightworms package last year. I think actually maybe for the December box last year. I don't remember exactly the month, but I did get this a while ago. So I'm excited to finally get to it. I have heard very mixed things. I recently found out that it is taking place in winter, so I decided to put it on this list and finally get to it. It's about a woman who is like haunted by her mother who died, but I think not in like a legit haunting type of way, not like physically haunted, but I don't know. It says heavy metal, ripped jeans, Stephen King novels, and the occasional beer at the White Horse have defined urban Indian Carrie, is it Carrie or Kari? I think it's Carrie James's life so far. But when her cousin Debbie finds an old family bracelet that once belonged to Carrie's mother, it inadvertently calls up both her mother's ghost and a monstrous entity, and Carrie's willful ignorance about her past is no longer sustainable. Okay, so it sounds like it might be like an actual physical haunting. I think it's a little bit more slow burn, a little bit more character heavy, maybe some literary. I think it's just like not super action-packed, so it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I hope I love it. Next up, this is a highly, highly anticipated book for me, and I am going to read it as soon as I possibly can after I get all my vlog stuff taken care of, and that is Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. I read Mary this year by him, and I absolutely devoured it, loved it. The audiobook was fantastic. I'll link whatever video wrap up it's in up above and down below, but I loved it. So I'm super excited to check out another work by him. This was actually just published on Halloween 2023, so it's very new, but I've already heard really great things from booktubers that I tend to agree with a lot of books for, and I think I'm gonna love it because I really did love Nat Cassidy's writing, and I'm excited. The only thing I know about this is that we follow a couple that move into a new apartment, and that's like literally all I know. But I did see it on a specific Bookstagram post where they talked about specific type of subgenre, which I won't say what, because I'm sad that I feel like it was a little bit of a spoiler for me because it doesn't say anything about it on the back. But I did see this posted on a themed Bookstagram post about a specific subgenre with a specific element in the book, and this was on there. So I think it might have a specific thing also in it, which I'm just not going to say because, like I said, it doesn't say anything about it in the back, so I feel like it was a spoiler low-key, which kind of is a bummer. I wish I didn't notice. But we'll see. I'm sure I'm still going to love it. We'll find out. And then the last book I have picked out for my horror books specifically is The Girl in 6E by A.R. Tori. I'm not quite sure how to say that last name. All I know about this is I think it has to do with a cam girl who has like a stalker. Oh, well, I guess I don't know if this is it's not like a normal synopsis, but it's kind of like a teaser. It says, "My life is simple as long as I follow these rules. 1, don't leave the apartment. 2, never let anyone in. 3, don't kill anyone. I've obeyed these rules for 3 years, but rules were made to be broken." So maybe it's not a stalker. I'm not quite sure. The blurbs give away absolutely nothing. It just says a taut, edgy thrill ride, powerfully gripping, an incredible debut, gritty, unique, and primal. So I don't know. A cam girl, I think. That's all I know. So moving on to some fantasy. I only have a few fantasy. We are just flying through this list since I don't have too much to say about each of them other than I'm excited. So the first fantasy I have picked out is called The Dawn and Its Light by Piper C.J. This actually comes out January 16th, so it's not available yet. This is the 4th and final book in the Night and Its Moon series by Piper C.J., which I have absolutely loved. It is a fantasy romance with a lot of bisexual representation, and we follow 2 main characters named Nox and Amaris. They met when they were very young in an orphanage that was very sketchy and would actually sell the kids off to the highest bidder. They grow up together and eventually end up getting separated when Amaris is actually sold to a madam of a brothel, but Nox ends up taking Amaris's place after Amaris runs away. So Nox gets shipped off to a brothel and Amaris ran away. So we end up following these girls as they grow up as women, separate, and eventually try to find their way back to each other. I love the series. I'm really not apologizing for it. Every book has been a 4.5 or a 5-star for me in it. I've just really connected with these characters, loved it. So all that to say is that I will absolutely be reading the 4th book as soon as I have my grubby little fingers on it. The next fantasy I have picked out is Children of Fallen Gods by Carissa Broadbent. This is the 2nd book in the War of Lost Hearts trilogy, which I started quite a while ago. So I definitely need to prioritize this. There's one more book right there that I also need to get to. So we're definitely going to try to get to this one. I really need to wrap this series up so I can move on to other Carissa Broadbent stories. But in this book, we follow our main character, who I don't even remember her name now, Tisana. We follow our main character, Tisana. In the 1st book, she was actually a slave to a very powerful man, of whom she ends up killing very early on in the book. She does have like some magical abilities. She's like half mixed with like a magical race in this world. So after she kills her master, she ends up running away to this place called the Orders, where they teach people how to hone and use their magic, and she ends up being an apprentice to a very reluctant guy named Max, who doesn't really want to take on an apprentice but does anyway, and it becomes this kind of like fantasy romance from there. She wants to free all the other slaves. There's kind of a lot of stuff going on, and this is the 2nd book to that. Then the last book I have picked out, which you may have seen in my possible November TBR, which did not get read because I decided I wanted to put it off, so it's a little bit closer to the sequel's release, and that is Empire the Vampire by Jake Kristoff. This is like a vampire world / horror, high fantasy. That's all I really know. And it's chunky. It's very chunky, but I'm excited to get to it. I wanted to put it off a little bit longer because 1, I'm scared, but 2, the sequel comes out in March, so I wanted to I don't know. It's kind of an excuse, but I did want to not forget so much story by the time that the sequel was released. So I felt good about putting it off and using that reason to put it off. But I am really excited to get to it. I am just very intimidated, but it sounds really interesting. It sounds very dark, and I've heard really good things about it. I may or may not be having a buddy read with this with Katrina Brown. I have to confirm with her if she will also be reading it, but I will definitely be reading it nonetheless. But it may or may not be a buddy read too, so I'm excited. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I will also be buddy reading Krampus with Lauren from Happy Haunts Library. Lauren is actually planning on hosting some reading sprints for like Christmas time, and she actually invited me to take part in one of her reading sprints, so I'm super excited. So when we do that, we will be reading this. Most likely, if you want to participate. I will be making a post and updating you guys when I know like an exact date and everything and time. Me and her have to schedule it, but I'm really excited. I haven't done reading sprints before. Like, I've participated in them, but I haven't been the person on camera for reading sprints. So I'm really excited to do it if you guys want to jump in for that. So yeah, also a buddy read. So that's all the books that I'm hopefully, definitely, maybe, possibly going to read for winter. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to sink my teeth into all of these books. So yeah, that was really fast. I feel like I really flew through those. Hopefully you like a short, quick, down and dirty TBR list, because I feel like that's exactly what I just provided. But if you have read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them, or you can just let me know what you plan on reading for the winter or December, depending on how you do your TBRs, if you do TBRs. I am really excited for some of the content that I have planned for the next coming months. So I do hope I see you for future videos. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Let me know. And as always, I truly appreciate you spending some of your time with me while I sit down and talk about books. If you made it to this point, leave me some Christmas emojis in the comments down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.